Hey, what's up, guys? This is Tim Credeur with RFC, and I'm here today with one of the RFC main eventers, Eric Scallan. Eric's coming out of Gladiators Academy, Youngsville. He's been fighting a long time. Eric, what is your record? And when I say that, I don't mean against your brothers. I mean professionally.
Man, I couldn't even tell you offhand. I know I have this is my 27th fight, maybe.
27 fights.
Six,
Okay, that.
Six. I don't even. I couldn't
And let me
even-
also say this. Eric competed at a time similar to me where we didn't really have amateur careers.
Right.
Like Eric did do a couple amateur fights, but it was so non-prevalent at the time when you got started. It was
Right.
pretty hard to even find
Yeah,
it.
actually, no. I think I had. I was 8-1 as an amateur, but no, you get to a point where you just run out of people to go against.
Yeah.
And then that's basically when we decided to go pro. It was just like, man, I can't get you a fight. I think I was 7-1, 8-1, and I was like, dude,
Yep.
you kind of have to go pro at that time.
Back in the day, we kind of used amateur fighting to figure out for us if we wanted to waste time with this athlete or not. That was really what amateur fighting was about, because you kind of discovered pretty quickly if you wanted to continue doing this or not, you know? So 2 or 3 or 4 amateur fights, somebody kind of knew, like, man, this is a lot, or I'm going to dedicate myself to this. So I didn't know you had that many. So
Yeah,
this is going to be somewhere near 40-something fights.
Yeah, it's up
Yeah,
there. Too,
that's incredible. And then when I say I've had a lot of fights, I have to be honest. Like, some of those amateur fights Eric had, they were probably real fights. I had some fights that I guess you can count it as a fight, but they weren't real fights. You know, I fought Mexican luchadors in masks. I fought some people that had been drinking. I fought guys in Vans tennis shoes with socks on and jean shorts. So I fought some people that, yeah, it was in a cage. Yeah, it was a fight, but it was a 45-second debauchery. So that's kind of a little bit previous to Eric. Eric's amateur career, I remember you guys went out to Iowa at one point, right? You and Dustin.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we did a 2-day tournament in Iowa. I actually fought 3 fights in 2 days. And I remember after my first 2 fights, my trainer at the time just throwing me in a bathtub and just throwing ice all over me.
Yeah.
And just got up and did it the next day.
Yeah, that's incredible. Those kind of memories, though, although they sound crazy today, and it does sound crazy when I'm telling my kids or my wife, like, I fought in Mexico for $50 with no gloves. Mm-hmm. That does sound crazy, but I feel like it strengthens my resolve. It makes me tougher for fighting, I guess, but for life. Like, I've been able to handle some horrible circumstance and endure through that. Right. I think fighting 3 fights in one weekend.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that anymore.
No, I don't think you can.
Not,
I don't think you can. I think Dustin tried to do something like that, and the UFC was like, "No, you're not doing 2 fights in one night."
Yeah, right.
So yeah. Anyways, we're so excited to have you on the card, man. You're an incredible competitor. You always have been. It's always fun to watch you go out there and dominate an opponent, and then take off the second round, and everyone's like, "What is he doing?" And then come back the third round and be like a war machine. Now, I've been in the corner, and I know it may be entertaining or frustrating for people in the crowd, but as a coach, I wanted to punch you directly in the face. What is that style? Is that from wrestling?
I think it's just being out of shape. That's what it was my last few fights, and I don't think it's a style or anything. I think it used to be. I used to have a lot of bad weight cuts, so yeah. I've always tried to make it down to 170, and without fail, every time I would cut down to 170. The second round would come around and I'm gassed, and then a lot of times I have been able to pull it off, but and I think the last 2 fights, the last fight in particular against Chauncey Foxworth, I mean, guy was a cardio machine.
Competitor.
Yeah, tough competitor, and that was one where it was funny. He actually took me down, and I remember like the cage being like curved. And so as soon as my back got against the cage, I'm like, man, there was no way to elbow hand stand up or whatever. I remember just sitting there. And people are just yelling at me, and I was like, dude, I'm trying to move, but I can't. I'm telling my brain to move, but
trying to have conversations. With the third row VIP
but that was funny though, because Abe actually goes, I joke with him all the time about that. He goes, Eric, I know you like to take the second round off. I'm like, bro, I only did that like a couple times. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean,
part of the game.
Yeah, it happens, man. So, a win's a win.
I watched you fight yesterday. We're a month out. I watched you train yesterday. You're in really great shape. Yeah. Probably some of the best shape I've ever seen you in, even if the fight was in a week. You did some hard rounds yesterday with, tough pros. Elliot Hebert, Jesse Roberts is a monster. You were in there with some tough guys, and your cardio looked really, really good, and your stand-up looked really, really good. What has been your inspiration kind of leading up to this fight? Because watching your training output yesterday, I could tell that you've been doing a lot when people aren't watching. What's been the inspiration for that?
I would say, first of all, it's just that I'm a lot older and I really don't have a choice. I think before I used to be able to get away with not training as hard, but having to train a lot more to get my weight down. It's in the long run, it's just made me an overall competitor. And certainly too, I guess I took this fight 6 months ago because I was going through some things and I just wanted to keep my mind busy. But then also too, I was pushing my son real hard, as far as with his wrestling career. And I was like, well, man, it's not fair for me to make him do all this stuff or push him to do this. And I'm not doing any of it. I'm sitting back and saying, oh, I used to do this. But now, man, I can tell you this, I genuinely just love and enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate enough to have a schedule where I can wake up in the morning, I can work out. I do my second workout by 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. And that way when the evening time comes around, and this is what makes it so fortunate, I don't have to go to work and drag myself to the gym in the evening time and force myself through a workout. So I'm kind of doing these workouts with high mental clarity, and I have a lot more energy. And look, I know when to take off. We did a hard sparring session yesterday, and I was like, hey, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing 2 days. But then I knew today I had to come in and start moving around.
Get a little something done.
Yeah, because if I just stay tight like that, I'll stay like that for 2 or 3 days. So just having fun. You always said, I'm only fighting to get in the UFC. I'm only fighting to get this higher level. But then once I personally just let that go and say, man, I just want to have fun, and I need to pay off the IRS too. So if you want to sponsor me, it'll go directly to the IRS. So it goes back to you in some type of way. So holler at me.
Praise God. Jason Sladen, tough competitor. I think a lot of people kind of thought I was doing him a disservice when I matched him with Chris Crosby. Right. Like, a lot of people called me, even the boxing commission, and they're like, what are you doing? And I told him, I said, look, I've seen this guy fight before. Like, he can fight. Like, I know you might not think that, and then obviously, hindsight, he put a beating on Chris Crosby, a really bad beating. And Jason Sladen's mostly tries to be a stand-up fighter, but in that fight, he took Chris Crosby down and beat him at his own game on the ground. Right. It was a tough, he did also get his arm broken in a jiu-jitsu hold, but what are your thoughts about a guy like Jason Sladen and going into that fight? Because it's a tough fight for your last fight, obviously.
Well, first, I don't think it's my last fight, but we'll see. How about New Orleans?
Okay, let's
soon.
do it.
But no, man, I think he had a great fight against Devontae. It was one of my training partners. He had a good fight against Chris. These guys are going to stay in there. He has a lot of different weapons, and look, I certainly respect every aspect of his game and what he brings to the table. And look, he's a competitor. Yeah. I don't take anybody for granted. Sure. I'm training for him like I would as I'm fighting some of the tough, like I'm fighting Joe Riggs or Chris Curtis again. Sure. I don't sleep on anybody.
Yeah. It was obvious yesterday in the training session. Well, we're excited to have you, man. You're always entertaining. You bring a lot of great people to the show. You're always fun to watch. It's exciting for RFC to have such a pro like you, so we really appreciate it. Is there some sponsors you'd like to thank before we get out of here?
Dude, I have too many sponsors to list.
Everybody who sponsored Eric, we really appreciate it. And I love how you're trying to push your son, in wrestling and stuff. That's awesome. All I really pushed Henry to do today was wake up. Eric Scallan, RFC 2. We can't wait to see you June 14th at the Cajundome. We'll see you next time.